Are you about to buy a new car? Don't. Do it later. Are you about to buy a new house? Don't. Do it later. Do you want to vacation and enjoy life now, or do you want to amass your fortune now and vacation later? Keep good records and keep your receipts. Give all of them to your accountant and tell him what they're for. If you're building an addition on your house you hopefully own, or you're using a room as an office to conduct your business, you can deduct the cost or rent of that section. In simple terms, try not to buy anything, especially what you don't need. But if you buy, figure out a way to deduct the cost from your taxes. Get professional advice, not from me. Don't hang out with druggies. You will lose everything, but mostly money. Don't hang out with drinkers. Same thing. Do get straight if you're not. Obvious, but worth saying. Drinking and drugs will prevent you from making money. That's a promise. Something's gotta go. If you're like me and love money, get rid of all the monkeys on your back. Now. Changes. I've never been drunk in my life. I've never been high except in a dentist's chair. I've never taken more than a sip or two of beer. I hate the taste and smell of it. I have never smoked, except for 1 or 2 puffs from a hidden pack of my mother's cigarettes when I was 12 years old. After that, I never put another cigarette in my mouth again. I have never touched drugs. I've been a good boy. I've worked hard, and no one is allowed the fruits of my labor without my permission. I'm not saying this for effect, but for your information only. Now, if you take a look at this very small idea, it's a personal choice I made, although convention and society actually espouse the notion of drinking. James Bond has his martinis, and Joe Middle America watches a Sunday football game and drinks brews as he yells, "Go Bears!" I just don't like the smell of alcohol or the taste of it. There's nothing about it that's appealing in the least. It also costs money, a lot of it. Drinking is not a solitary activity unless you're a blatant drunk and have very bad self-esteem problems. Drinking is a social phenomenon. You like to drink beer or booze, and lots of it, because this is America and you like to do it with your buddies, and often you'll spring for the tab because you're such a man. That means that you'll be out a lot of cash, and you won't even have gotten a lap dance. I haven't sat down and done the arithmetic, but I would imagine I've saved a small fortune simply by not drinking. Not to mention less aspirin tabs for headaches, no time lost from work due to hangovers. You do the math. I've also, as a personal choice, never been high in my life in any way, shape, or form. I've never held a marijuana cigarette in my hand, and have never stuck anything that looks remotely like Sweet and Low up my nose. It's simply a personal choice. This doesn't make me very popular in that way at parties, because parties are based on the notion that people need to get blitzed in order to be effective at attracting the opposite sex. I have worked for more than 30 years in an industry that actually espouses the lifestyle in a phrase we've all come to know and love dearly: sex, drugs, and rock and roll. My favorite word, sex, is right at the beginning. There's that dreaded self-destructive word, drugs, right in the middle, and the rock and roll part nobody can quite figure out. It seems harmless enough. I'm here to tell you that a loser came up with that middle word, but clearly the industry is filled with mongoloids with guitars hanging around their necks. Because when this idiot was just a poor kid, before he got famous, he didn't have access to many drugs, and may not have been a drug addict at all. He aspired to greatness and riches and as many women as he could get. And of course, as soon as he got it, what did he do? He became a drug addict. His descent was hastened into hell behind a turnstile someplace where he's doomed to ask, you guessed it, want fries with that? On tour with Kiss, I would walk into a room. It would be filled with groupies. They would either be A, drinking, or B, doing drugs. While everybody in that room was blitzed, I would simply walk in like the fox in the hen house and take out all the chicks I liked. When the girls were with me, 1, 2, or more, smoking was not allowed, drinking was not allowed, and getting high was not allowed. For one thing, there are financial repercussions if someone is in your room and overdoses. Also, if she is drunk and or high, she might do something that will bring the law coming. At the end of the day, I never wanted to be around anyone who drank or got high. I was always, you might be surprised to know, much more interested in being around managers and record company people, and to be perfectly blunt, bankers. And if not entirely, then at least their sisters and girlfriends. I chose a certain lifestyle, hard work, no drugs or booze, and no marriage. It has served me well. You are free to choose your lifestyle. May it serve you as well as mine has served me. By 1980, the plan was to bring on our business manager, Howard Marks, to help us reduce our cost of doing business and maximize our bottom line, our profit. For a couple of years, we watched our money grow, but not to the extent we were satisfied with. Some real differences had started to surface between Bill Aucoin and the band. Aucoin always struck me as a man of vision. He could see the big picture. He was a showman in the grand tradition. He saw something in Kiss that perhaps we didn't see in ourselves. He saw that we could go beyond just being a rock band and become superheroes if we chose to. With all the wonderful creative ideas Bill Aucoin had, I have to say that financially he might not have been his own best advisor or the band's. He lived way beyond his means. He had earned many millions of dollars from Kiss and decided to open multiple offices on both coasts, New York and Los Angeles. His staff grew to include 2 floors in New York on Madison Avenue and 2 floors in L.A. on Wilshire Boulevard. Additionally, he decided that his rented apartment on Fifth Avenue should have marble. After the lease was up, he couldn't take it with him. Hundreds of thousands of dollars of marble work remained in the apartment after he left. One can live beyond one's means, or one can live right at the level of one's means. The problem with living beyond one's means is simply that there's no room for any flexibility. If the house of cards loses one card, the whole house comes tumbling down. Bill Aucoin had some brilliant ideas and was a man whose vision helped take Kiss to levels we might not have reached alone. After Kiss and Bill Aucoin split up in 1982, he had a couple of successes with other artists and then reportedly lost all his money. There were also deep divisions within the band by that time. Ace and Peter had been involved in something like 10 separate car accidents. In more than one case, the accidents resulted in extended hospital stays to treat life-threatening injuries. Cars caught fire, skidded more than 400 feet, swiped off other car doors. There were races in DeLoreans at over 100 miles an hour, arrests for illegal drug prescriptions, gun carrying on airlines. There were endless variations on these themes, all of which, in one way or the other, eventually led to Peter and Ace being out of the band. Peter left first in 1980, then Ace departed in 1982. Both went on to pursue solo careers. Both failed and had to declare bankruptcy. Eventually, by 1993, Ace and Peter were co-headlining a club tour called Bad Boys of Rock. Neither one on their own could fill a club. Kiss continued without them. We had a new album to record called Creatures of the Night. For a second, I thought Edward Van Halen should be our new guitarist when he and I met for lunch and he suggested it. It was not to be. Kiss was now Paul, Eric Carr, Vinnie Vincent, and Gene Simmons. We toured with the new lineup and did relatively poor business. Our opening act was Wendy O. Williams. She and I agreed to do a record together that I would write and produce. The record failed, but this time I got paid. I was invited to film an ABC TV pilot for my own TV series called Grotus. featuring a jet-setting, skirt-chasing guy. The creators were Marcy Carsey and her company Carsey Werner, who would go on to do Roseanne and The Cosby Show. I passed the audition, met the ABC brass, and was offered the show. Their first offer was $60,000 an episode. I was elated. I was told they would need me full-time for 10 months a year. That meant no touring and no records. It would actually cost me money to do the series. I would be paying for the privilege of starring on a television show because I'd have to take a sabbatical from Kiss, which would cost me millions. I wanted to expand my areas of interest, but only if it made me money. I like fame as much as the next guy, but you can't pay your rent with it. Remember, it's rich and famous, not famous and rich. This is not to discount the importance of celebrity in our culture. If your aspirations are to become Shaq or Tiger Woods, your chances are slim. If you spent your entire life training since the time you were a child to become a super athlete, and if you actually scale the heights and become Tiger Woods, you may be shocked to find out no matter how lucrative in the millions of dollars your payday may be, you can earn multiple times the gross number of dollars you're paid in intangibles like TV advertisements and product endorsements. In fact, what you're being paid for is being famous, not for the actual work you do. Fame in and of itself is something to aspire to. The reward and consequence of fame makes you money, sometimes truckloads. America doesn't have royalty. Since we don't have kings and queens, we don't actually heap billions of dollars on them for doing nothing. American royalty is celebrityhood itself. We have stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, Kiss has one, not just in the heavens above us. We not only lavish praise and money, but give lots of free stuff to people just because they're famous. When I was no one, I never got a free meal or a free bus ride, and make no mistake about it, I would have appreciated one. When I didn't have money, I would have loved to have a free meal, but as soon as I became famous on whatever level I achieved fame, everyone, restaurants, clothing makers, guitar manufacturers, wanted to give me free stuff, and lots of it, just because I was famous. It's come to the point now where people just want me to show up and speak. They're called lectures. But what it really comes down to is that I show up someplace, somebody gives me sackfuls of cash, and I start talking. It's very stream of consciousness. I usually open with, I was very young when I was born. I don't have a clue where the next sentence is coming from, or where I will end up. But at the end of the day, what it's really about is they're waiting for me to stop talking. They want me to jump into the audience and take questions and then take photos. They want to be with me just because of celebrityhood. I never take any of this seriously. I'm as amazed by the power of celebrity as you are. It's important to be aware of its power. Record producer. I tried producing other bands. Virgin was a Bill Aucoin-managed band. It failed. I discovered another band and had them signed to Casablanca. They were called Group with No Name, their name choice, and featured Katie Segal, who would later become famous on Married with Children. It failed. I produced a group called Smashed Gladys. They eventually signed with Elektra Records. It failed. I had tried producing and writing songs for other bands. I had tried television. I was about to try movies. Movie producer. Nothing comes to you. You have to go to it. I wanted to act, noticed a casting company called Fenton and Feinberg, and called them. Mike Fenton must have been surprised to hear me introduce myself and offer, I want to be in movies. We met, he introduced me to writer-director Michael Crichton, and in short order, I was cast as the bad guy Luther in TriStar Films' Runaway. A few $100,000 later, I was looking forward to more film work. I met two comic book writers, Jeff Loeb and Matt Weissman, at the Beverly Hills Hotel, and we came up with an idea for a movie about an Israeli Mossad, CIA-type agent, whose little girl is kidnapped. I took the finished script to Runaway's producer, as a starring vehicle for me. I was told it wasn't good, that it was just a lot of shooting. I let go of the script. But when I wanted to take another shot at it, it was too late. It was being made, starring Arnold Schwarzenegger, using my title, Commando. Lesson learned. Again, trust your gut, not someone else's. Ask for other people's opinions, but follow your heart. I found another script and got a free option for 6 months. I tried to set it up at the studios. They said it couldn't be made. The following year, I went to see it in a movie theater. It was called Jacob's Ladder, directed by Adrian Lyne. I tried to produce The Deed, a book by Gerald Frank. I was able to attach director Bruce Beresford, Driving Miss Daisy. I sold it to Warner Brother Pictures. It has yet to be made. The same goes for the Neil Bogart story, Paramount, Sex, Drugs, and Rock and Roll, Touchstone, John Sable, Intermedia Pacifica, Tennessee Waltz and November Files, Interlight, Monster Truckin', Seven Arts, Stupid Action Movie, AMG, Real Monsters, New Line, Groupies, New Line, and on TV, Gene Simmons' Chillerama, MTV, Hitmen, VH1, Vox, VH1, Smash, VH1, My Dad the Rockstar, Cartoon, Nelvana, Groupies, Movie of the Week, Groupies, Documentary, HBO, Rock and Roll All Night, CBS. Few, if any, will ever see the light of day. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Simmons Records. I had missed out on Van Halen, and I desperately wanted my own label for new acts I discovered. I got one. RCA President Bob Buziak and International President Heinz Henn gave me my own label, Simmons Records. RCA would pay me a 6-figure overhead fee. They also paid for everything else, recording costs, artist advances, marketing, and sales. I would participate on the profits of every record sold on my label. I started using a logo I had trademarked 6 years earlier, the Moneybag logo. I had started to put 2 slashes through the S in Simmons to resemble a $, which, if you haven't noticed by now, is very important to me and I suspect to you. I trademarked it. But it occurred to me that the universal sign for good fortune, the American dream, was the Moneybag logo. I didn't believe I could ever own it. Surely someone had already trademarked it. They had not. I did. I was even able to legally enforce it. A band by the name of Teenage Fan Club on Geffen Records used the Moneybag on one of their album covers. I ceased and desisted them, made them stop. They sent me a small check, and the logo was forever mine. Manager. My friendship with Liza Minnelli resulted in a management contract for her recording career. I offered Liza as my first artist on Simmons Records. It was rejected. So I took her to Walter Yetnikoff at CBS, who put her on Epic Records. Her Pet Shop Boys written and produced album was a gold record overseas and did moderately well in America. I also had Jenny Muldaur, who eventually went to Warner Records, Laz Netto, Dead or Alive, and others, all rejected. But Greg Giuffria's new band, House of Lords, whose name I dubbed and owned, worked. They recorded 2 records for me. I also released Silent Rage and Gypsy Rose on Simmons Records. I produced a Japanese band, Easy O, for Geffen Records, as well as 2 albums for Black and Blue, Geffen, and 2 albums for Keel, A&M. Most of the ventures I undertake fail. So will yours. So what? Get used to being immune to the word no and the concept of failure. If at first you don't succeed, try again. Good words to live by, for me, for you. As I looked towards California in 1984, I decided to sell my New York place. I sold it for almost 6 times what I'd bought it for only 2 years earlier. The laws of real estate at that time said that whatever earned income, capital gains, you had from a house, you could hold on to for 2 years, tax-free. At that point, you either had to buy another house for the exact amount of the selling price within 2 years, or get a tax bill for the differential. As it happened, within a year or two of selling, I was able to turn the profits from the sale of my penthouse and almost double that money on Wall Street. I met Shannon Tweed, a former Playboy Playmate of the Year. She certainly had beauty and brains, but there was something more. I liked being with her. Once I sold my place in New York, I came to L.A. and moved into Shannon's apartment in L.A. She was sharing it with her sister and a male roommate. Her total rent was probably $800 a month. I was by no means living at the top end of my financial means. Eventually, I decided that I wanted to buy a house on 2 acres in Beverly Hills. I built a guest house on the property that served, for all intents and purposes, as the KISS West Coast office and headquarters for Simmons Records. It looked like the relationship with Shannon was going to be a go. We were approaching our 2nd year together. I told Shannon, "I want to be clear. I said this to you when we first started the relationship, and I'll say it again now. I never want to get married. If we're going to live together, I want a cohabitation agreement, not a prenup. I don't want anyone besides you and I, Shannon Tweed and Gene Simmons, with the help of individual counsel, to decide what the nature of our relationship is." And to her credit, she agreed. She got her own lawyer, and I got my own lawyer, and we both wrote down our wish list. I wrote that I cared deeply for her and wanted to live with her, but never wanted to have joint credit cards and joint bank accounts. I wasn't looking for a partner, and I didn't want to be her partner. Whatever bank accounts Shannon had, I didn't want to know about. I didn't want to know how much she had or where she kept her money. It was none of my business. She earned that money. Likewise, she would have nothing to say about my finances. I was completely honest from the first day we got together. I told Shannon, I will never get married. I will never marry any woman. I want to be free to decide whatever I want to do with my life, and likewise, I will never tell you where to go or what to do. There are no preconditions for us living together except for one. If we break up, you take what was yours, and I will likewise take what was mine. This relationship is not about money. It is about companionship. If we ever do have children, they will be my responsibility. We're approaching 20 years together. We both signed the contracts. My biggest wish was for complete honesty and full disclosure. I strongly urge everybody to sign such papers before entering any kind of romantic relationship. This means you. It's possible that at any point one person or the other in a relationship will change. It's not even necessarily that one is a villain and the other is a saint. The problem with all relationships is the financial cost when you change. You can walk out on your friends when you change. You can even walk out on your parents. But you can't walk out on somebody you lived with, not without paying them more money than the one who gave you life itself, your mother. It's the law of the land. Unless you have a binding agreement that supersedes and nullifies it, like I do. Nothing will come to you. You have to go after it. Remember, if it was easy, everybody would be doing it. Do you want marriage or not? Do you want freedom or not? Are your romantic relationships based on honesty and full disclosure? If you put a woman on a pedestal and try to protect her from the rat race, you're a male chauvinist pig. If you stay at home and do the housework, you're a pansy. If you work too hard, there's never any time for her. If you don't work enough, you're a good-for-nothing bum. If she has a boring, repetitive job with low pay, it's exploitation. If you have a boring, repetitive job with low pay, you should get off your rear and find something better. If you get a promotion ahead of her, it's favoritism. If she gets a job ahead of you, it's equal opportunity. If you mention how nice she looks, it's sexual harassment. If you keep quiet, it's male indifference. If you cry, you're a wimp. If you don't, you're insensitive. If you make a decision without consulting her, you're a chauvinist. If she makes a decision without consulting you, she's a liberated woman. If you ask her to do something she doesn't enjoy, that's domination. If she asks you, it's a favor. If you appreciate the female form and frilly underwear, you are a pervert. If you don't, you're gay. If you like a woman to shave her legs and keep in shape, you're sexist. If you don't, you're unromantic. If you try to keep yourself in shape, you're vain. If you don't, you're a slob. If you buy her flowers, you're after something. If you don't, you're not thoughtful. If you're proud of your achievements, you're full of yourself. If you're not, you have no ambition. If she has a headache, she's tired. If you have a headache, you're gay. If you want it too often, you're oversexed. If you don't, you're gay. Women are from Mars. Men have penis. I've often joked privately that marriage is an institution. You have to be committed to it. If that doesn't sound like a nut house, I don't know what does. Or try this one on for size. What do women do with their assholes? They send them to work. A man mutters a few words in church and finds himself married. He mutters a few words in his sleep and finds himself divorced. Before marriage, a man yearns for the woman. After marriage, the why becomes silent. Women are from Mars. Men have penis. That's about as close as we get to each other. The road to riches for men and women are two completely different paths that never touch. What's good for the goose is not necessarily good for the gander, and vice versa. Women want life partners. I don't know about you, but I'm not looking for a partner. A financial partner, that is. I already have one. It's called the United States government, whether I want it to be or not. I have to pay tax dollars. I refuse to tithe to churches. I don't want to pay for the privilege of praying to God, and I don't want to pay for the privilege of companionship. But my hand is not out looking for money from anyone else either. I'm sure there are some women who agree with me. The majority do not. My life, by example, I hope, is duly diligent. I'm told it's not a very romantic notion, but I'm here to tell you that marriage isn't necessarily the most financially beneficial institution for a man. Romance is financially beneficial for a woman, however. Romance and love are blinding and binding. There's a reason people say love is blind. It doesn't deal with consequences. It says, dive into the deep end of the pool, because women have nothing to lose, financially speaking, and everything to gain. At least that's the law of our land. I'm not making a value judgment. You decide for yourself. The myth of love. Let's examine love for a little longer. We're taught that love is everything. It's not. That is a myth. It is a patent lie. Say you're a third-world woman in the Kalahari Desert, somewhere in Africa, and your child is starving to death, God forbid. You're holding your child in your arms as he is dying. You say to your child, I love you. I don't know how to dispel anybody's notions about the power of even motherly love, but it means nothing at that moment. The very first and foremost thing you need above civilization and laws and religion and God, is food and air. The basics. Air is free. Food is not. You need money. More is better than less. After money, you may want love, but love is not necessary for survival and is certainly far from the most powerful force in the world, despite what we're taught. What we're taught in America about love in song lyrics is completely untrue. How can I live without you? Love is everything. It's not. Love is, in fact, often abused and used as a weapon of sorts. The last thing I want is to be loved by someone who doesn't love themselves. I want to be around somebody who's richer than I am. I want to be around somebody who's smarter than I am. I don't want to be around somebody who's dumber than I am or loves themselves less than I do. Anyone who loves themselves less than I love myself is going to suck me dry like a vampire. Those are the real lessons of survival. What they teach you is a myth. Partly because women are listening, and women tend to need fantasies and myths, especially from men. And the biggest, most prevalent myth is that she's going to find that knight in shining armor, one man who will stick with her for richer, for poorer, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. He's going to keep you in the style to which you've become accustomed, says the marriage oath. A man is called a catch because he's trying to run away. There is no equivalent term for a woman. Women say, I'm going to get my claws into that man. He's such a catch. These aren't my words. These are the cliches of society. Men don't talk like that. We want your companionship, and then we want you to go away and leave us alone to fill in the blank. In truth, when men want to get together to do guy things, go bowling, play baseball, and even go to war, unless there's a sexual element, women get in the way. Ouch. I'm going to get mail. Nonetheless, it's the truth. Ladies, turn to the guy next to you and ask him. Above and beyond love, sex and marriage, not necessarily the same thing, by the way, this is what it really boils down to. Man is interested in ambition, sex, power, and money. He's going to go for it. He has no choice. He can't decide to stay at home and take care of the kids. It's unacceptable in almost every culture in the world for the man to stay at home and prepare dinner for his hard-working wife. He must work. He must succeed. And if he knows what's good for him, he must bring home the bacon to her. When you really get down to it, things haven't changed all that much from the caveman days. He goes hunting, risks his life, kills something, and brings it home to her. She dines, and then he can have some sex. Today he must first take her out to dinner before there can be any talk of sex. Men have never understood why, if we've come so far from our primordial past, men and women simply can't have sex together without food or gifts as a prerequisite. Nonetheless, food and gifts are a prerequisite. Ask any girl. Ask any guy. There are a lot of modern 21st century minded women who have decided to break the rules and make their own fortunes. I applaud them. That way the ladies might not come after his money when the marriage dissolves. And statistics tell us it will dissolve, or depend on his money for everything during the marriage, for that matter. The modern woman who has made her own fortune and doesn't need the man's earning power still depends on the man for some basic things. Biology, at the end of the day, will make its own demands. A man and a woman are in bed together. There's a noise downstairs. She will nudge him and expect him to go down there and risk his life to protect hers. And even if she's got a .357 Magnum and can take care of business herself, when she goes to see the movie Love Story, she has somehow gotten him to go with her, although let's be honest here, he would have just as soon borrowed her .357, put it in his oral cavity, and squeezed the trigger rather than go to see this movie. She expects him to cry at the sensitive parts with her. She wants a man to be in touch with his feminine side, but she doesn't have to be in touch with her masculine side, we note. Nonetheless, she wants her man to be able to cry, but not before she cries. If he cries too early, he's a wimp, a mama's boy, or a gay. If he doesn't cry at all, he's insensitive. If he cries after an appropriate lapse of time, and only after she starts crying, then he's a sensitive, caring man. Now you know why men want to kill themselves. After a man and woman make love or have sex, not always the same thing, she does not want him to put his head on her chest. She wants to put her head on his chest. She does not care if he feels safe. She wants to feel safe. Women have penis envy. Save your hate mail. Dig up Freud from his grave and quarrel with him, not me. Men do not have vagina envy. We're not really all that interested in what it feels like to be born with a vagina. Men do not wonder what it might feel like to be entered. Men don't want to know. Gay men do, but that's another story. Tomboys are little girls who walk, talk, act, and dress like boys. These little girls are not gay. These are girls who want to hang with the boys. They may be heterosexual little girls, but they still want to be accepted when the guys get together in their little gangs or play baseball, where little girls, of course, are not welcome. They can't throw the ball, get hurt easily, and talk too much, usually about things guys couldn't care less about. Everything changes once puberty hits. Then the guys are willing to act more on the girls' terms. Why? Sex. The guys stop cursing in front of her, stop talking about baseball, and start buying flowers, something they've never done in their lives, except, of course, when they wanted to curry favor from their moms, who are, you guessed it, big girls. I'm reminded of that wonderful Mel Gibson movie, What Women Want. Here's the truth. Men don't care. To be more specific, they're not even curious about the notion. It's not even a blip on their consciousness. Don't worry. I've spoken to the entire population of men in the world, and they say it's okay for me to speak for them. It's about time someone told the truth around here. Women, on the other hand, are constantly trying to figure out men and what makes them tick. Why won't he call me? Is he seeing another girl? What does all this mean? Where is this leading, the relationship? Men don't worry about any of it. We don't, for example, worry about whether we have our mother's thighs. We don't worry about crow's feet. We don't have a biological clock, thank God. We are in the here and the now. We're hungry, we eat, we're tired, we sleep. What does it all mean? Who cares? The following is meant to be lighthearted, but there is still some truth in it. See if you agree. Would man have anything to say to woman if we didn't have sex in common? Most of the men I've spoken to immediately answer, no. Would woman have anything to say to man if we didn't have sex in common? Most of the women I've spoken to immediately answer, yes. Even if we didn't have anything in common, even if we never had sex, women will have something to say to men even after the men have died. She will stand over the grave and talk to him until she's blue in the face, even after he's in the worm food stage. Though nature had a grand design, modern technology, created by man, has all but evened the playing field and given women access to all the power they have ever dreamed of having. Women understandably want equal access to power, and nowadays they're getting more of it because computers don't know the sex of a person and physical prowess doesn't matter all that much anymore. It's all about information. Who has access to it, and most important, who can deliver or sell it. However, no matter how even the playing field has become, the physical world has been and continues to be built by man. Buildings are constructed by men. Women refuse to get out on highways and build roads, or get up in the air on scaffolding to build skyscrapers. The truth is that women do want and should have complete and equal access to power, but they don't want equal responsibility. The last thing a woman wants to do is what women do in the Israeli army, which is time to go to war. Don't kid yourself. The Israeli women don't do all these things because they want to. Their draft is not volunteer. America has a volunteer army, and women don't want to go to Iraq. Who does? At the end of the day, the power of women is completely based on whether she can attract man, biologically speaking. And the power of man has nothing to do with whether he can attract a woman. The power of man is in achieving wealth and killing things, so we can come back to the cave with a big piece of meat over our shoulder. Nothing has changed. The ugliest, shortest, baldest guy with the biggest wad of Rupert Murdoch bills in his wallet will attract gorgeous women. And the oldest hag with the biggest wad of bills in her purse will attract nothing. It's tough. Who says we're talking about fair here? I stand by my words. They're true. Why do men die younger than their wives? Because they want to. And because it says on the tombstone above them, rest in peace. This is just a joke, so relax. I'm not here to give advice to the lovelorn. I'm not even here to tell you what to believe in or what not to believe in. The things I say, and I'll keep reminding you along the way, will shoot big holes through the myths of society and are not necessarily meant to make you happier, but simply to keep more money in your pockets. Then it's up to you to decide what you want to do with it. Give the money to your wife, give it to the government, but if you don't have any money, you can't give anybody anything. The prevailing American notion is of a monogamous relationship. When that relationship goes sour, and statistics tell us it will, the woman is usually paid money, alimony. There are exceptions. Sometimes she pays him. But exceptions don't change the rule very much. Men still make more money than women, and men pay alimony. In India, marriages are arranged. You never even meet your wife before the ceremony. You do not marry for love. You buy a wife. In the Arab world, you buy as many as 4 wives. Now remember, in Western culture, it says you promise to keep her in sickness and in health. She doesn't promise to keep him in sickness and in health. He supports or buys her. Don't kid yourself. And we in Western culture think how primitive, how archaic, that people in other societies are willing to pay money to buy a wife or two. A dowry. I may actually agree with you. The idea of companionship, love, and everything else still revolves around money. We think that Arabs or Indians from India have quaint notions because the husband and wife never even meet until the wedding day. In Western culture, we ask, what about love? It's a good question, and I'm here to tell you that in the American culture of marriage, it specifically states that a man has a monetary responsibility to the woman he's going to marry. The law of the land today is even more punitive because it doesn't say anything in the marriage vows about giving her 50% of his gross pre-tax dollars. Wedding vows don't mention an amount of money. Wedding vows never even mention you're going to get divorced. You're going to stay with each other till the day you die, in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. Even when he's poor, he's going to support her. That's what it says. During their marriage, not only is he going to feed, support her, and clothe her, but after they get divorced, he's going to give her even more money. In America's case, this is a remnant of the Puritan ethic, which means if you're not a Puritan, you're going to be tortured to death. What may have worked for the Puritans is probably a very bad idea for men in the 21st century. It's a great idea for women in the 21st century. Any philosophy that goes back far enough will wind up being unworkable and completely unfair to women, in the 21st century. As an example, any woman who wants to make sure it's a monogamous relationship need only look at the Old Testament, where she's just one of a flock, one of many wives. And God said, it's okay, not a problem. And it wasn't just the Jews who had multiple wives. In the days of Muhammad and Islam, which came thousands of years later, and the Egyptians and the pagans, lots of wives. Today, men propose marriage to women here in America all the time. This is the same impulse that leads them to beer bashes and drinking too much and driving too fast and not being careful or thoughtful about life. Because if men were completely honest with themselves, they would admit privately to the woman they love as they're walking down the aisle, with the rice being thrown, having just told her that he wanted to spend the rest of his life with her, that they don't really believe it. Even as a man is walking back down the aisle from the ceremony, when he sees the bride's girlfriend has a set of double Ds, he's going to look at them. Not because he doesn't love his wife, but because biology dictates that he is visually attracted to that sight. Unconsciously, even though he'll prevent that thought from coming up, he's going to want to have sex with a woman he's never met, whose name he never bothered to learn, just because she has a set of double Ds. The oldest, ugliest guy still wants the youngest, prettiest woman because biology dictates. The thing that makes young women attractive is not necessarily any reason other than because biology makes them able to bear children. Prettier means younger for women. Men physically stay the same longer. They are able to remain the physical partners women aspire to much later in their lives. It's all about bearing children. That's what makes people appealing. A woman's appeal is all about breasts and childbearing hips. Only very recently have skinny women, who are barely female, have no breasts and hips, and resemble 12-year-old boys, come into fashion. But that look was created by gay men. If Kate Moss walked down the street, do you think she'd stop traffic? No. If Pam Anderson walked down the street, would she stop traffic? Yes. Not because men are necessarily so attracted to her, but because parts of her are displayed and offered. It has been proven over and over again that a woman with large breasts will stop traffic. Men will whistle and howl and otherwise make complete spectacles of themselves. Flat-chested women don't have that effect. Men won't even look twice. And men with erections in their pants make women turn around and look, even though they'll try not to. If it doesn't look like he has a basket, you're not going to look down there. It's the visual stimulus. Colors and breasts and hips. Bras are invented for what? For comfort? Bras were invented to make breasts look bigger, so men will look. They're padded and they have water, and there are wonder bras that lift and separate. The phrase T&A stands for tits and ass. That's what it's all about. Look at any cover of Playboy. Is the woman as attractive with small or no breasts? Of course not. Is she more attractive to men if her breasts are bigger? Absolutely. Going all the way back to the first pieces of erotic clay art found in caves. It's never been any different. And there's no reason for breasts to be big at all. Biologically, that is. Because women with very small breasts or flat chests produce just as much milk in their milk ducts as big-breasted women. It is purely nature's way of attracting men. Breasts have gotten bigger and bigger because men are so attracted to them as a visual stimulus. No other reason. At a party I hosted recently, every single female there had on her perfume, her high heels, her makeup, push-up bra, hairdo, the loud colors, all that stuff. That's where her power lies, in attracting men. Whether she does anything with him or not is another story. The men maybe put on cologne. They might change into a nicer jacket. But other than that, they don't try to alter their image. They don't tend to change their hair color or wear false eyelashes, by and large. They don't have to. The reason sexuality is so different between men and women is that a woman's most sensitive point on her body is completely hidden. It takes a long time to get to the button that sends her up to the 3rd floor. I'm coming! Imagine you're a man. Your most sensitive part brushes against your pants leg every time you take a step forward. Women keep saying to men, "Why can't you control yourself?" Well, there's a physical reason why they can't. Not only are billions of sperm trying to get out if he doesn't physically let them out by ejaculating in the form of intercourse or by manipulating himself, they will explode like a volcano anyway. If he doesn't, he'll dream about it. Think about it. And so the old phrase, "a man thinks with his dick," is correct. We have enough blood in our system for one head, probably not enough for two. And when the other head thinks, there's a financial price to be paid. This is the real point above love for men. It's completely different for women. He may want to have a family and a house and children and so on, but he's not going to want to curtail his attraction and accessibility to other females. There is no other reason I can think of why divorce is so high in Western culture. It's because men want to have sex with other women. He's not cheating biologically. He's doing exactly what biology dictates. He's cheating biology of its prime directive, the urge to merge, if he doesn't go after other women. The idea of cheating is based on a woman's notions. Her man is cheating the woman of her sole access to that man, to her exclusive use of his sexual appendage. But more specifically, he's cheating her of his time, which is the threat that he may leave her and go to another woman, who he'll keep and give money to, and so on. Alienation of affection is now a legal recourse. A woman can go to the courts and say, "This woman had a relationship with my husband and took away the money that I would normally have from this guy." This is the law of the land. It is a man's responsibility to realize that once he gets married, even though God has given him 2 balls, one of them is now hers. The worst thing a man can do financially and biologically speaking is to get married. Because when his body is making sperm, which is 24 hours a day, it produces billions and billions. They're not all lined up directed at one woman. They explode out like pollen from a tree in every single direction. What women want is what I would want if I were a woman, to undermine the ability of every other woman to have access to this man and his abilities to make money. Money is social security for a woman. Men who go to bars sooner or later will want to get some girls. As soon as a man takes a step forward, the head of his appendage will remind him. It rubs up against his pants and says, "Hey, what about me?" 24 hours a day, even in your sleep. Men can wake up in the middle of the night with a pee-pee teepee. Something is standing straight up, all on its own. Can't you control yourself? Women demand. The answer is no. You will know when we think you're cute because he's going to stand at attention even if we don't want him to. As little boys, we can't make him go away. In class, when a teacher has big perky breasts, the little 10 and 12-year-old boys get rock hard. They're afraid to stand up at the end of the class because they can't control their penis. They can't make it go away. And women know this, but refuse to acknowledge it. Control yourself. But you don't want us to control ourselves with you. You just want us to control ourselves around other women. Unfortunately, it's the antithesis of what biology has dictated for men. Therein lies the big problem. This whole system has worked for women for a long time. It's been a disaster for men. because men keep getting tortured by their attraction to other women. And when they act on this attraction, divorce is the result. It doesn't reflect all the liaisons that women have forgiven men for and decided not to file for divorce. If I had to take a guess, I'd say about 80 or 90% of men cheat. There was a poll on CNN once. Something like 70% of men admitted to having extramarital affairs. What about the ones who weren't willing to admit it? Could the true figure be 90% or more? Yes, because biology says you're supposed to. And men should fight this urge financially. Men and women can decide to get married or not to get married. There are 2 or 3 notions that they both have to deal with. For men, they're very clear. For women, they're fighting an uphill battle, and they're willing to be paid for the privilege of fighting that battle. The only thing wrong with marriage is that one of the 2 people getting married is a man. He will tend to stray. She will tend not to. She only makes 1 or 2 eggs. He makes billions of sperm. The defense rests, Your Honor. Next case.